COT's 2009 season has three works which have been carefully chosen to show a good contrast and give a broad view of the operatic repertoire which isn't widely seen. We're starting off the season with La Clemenza di Tito, Mozart's last opera. It's a serious opera, not a comedy. It was first performed in Prague in 1791, and it is really one of the most beautiful but underperformed works that Mozart wrote for the stage. It was last seen in Chicago over a generation ago, and I think it's fair to say that 40 years ago it was a very, very rare thing indeed. But in the last 25, 30 years or so, La Clemenza di Tito has taken its rightful place in the repertoire of most major opera companies, and so it's not such a rarity. But as I say, it has been rarely seen here, and the last time was over 20 years ago. So it's a terrific thing for COT to do this, and it's in addition to the four Mozart operas that we have done already, the three ones written to libretto by Da Ponte, which Diane Paulus did with Jane Glover, and of course Diane Fioron, which is something also of a rarity, which we gave 2 years ago. But that likewise, like La Clemenza di Tito, does form part of the regular repertoire of most opera companies. The cast will, as is I hope usually the case with COT, full of some of the most talented young American singers that we are able to find. And Dominic Armstrong, Amanda Majewski are two of the most gifted singers that we have discovered in recent years. And Amanda Majewski was in fact at Northwestern University before she went to the Curtis Institute in Philadelphia, and so she's a local gal. And we're absolutely thrilled to enable her to make her Chicago debut with COT, and you will in fact be seeing a great deal more of her in the future, because she's going to be living back in Chicago for the next 3 years or so in any case, so I hope we'll be seeing her back at COT as well. Jane Glover is returning to conduct La Clemenza di Tito, and the director will be making his Chicago Opera Theatre debut. That is Christopher Alden, one of the absolutely most distinguished and successful American opera directors whose work is seen widely throughout the world, but has not been seen in Chicago for some 7 or 8 years. So it'll be absolutely terrific for us to bring Christopher to town. The second piece up will be something completely new for Chicago, which is Peter Brook's adaptation of Bizet's Carmen, which he made for the Bouffe du Nord, his theatre in Paris, in 1980. It was a runaway success and was then seen on a world tour, and when it came to New York, to the Vivian Beaumont Theatre in 1983, it won a Tony Award for the best music theatre piece of that season. Peter Brook has condensed the key elements of this really timeless story of Carmen into 1.5 hours of very, very high tension theatre of the very best kind, which Peter Brook is one of the great figures, of course, of 20th century theatre. The musical adaptation by Marius Constant likewise concentrates those musical elements into a very much tighter framework, and the orchestra itself is reduced from the normal symphony orchestra size down to a dozen players or so. The cast consists really of only 4 main characters: Carmen, of course, Don Jose, Micaela, and the Toreador Escamillo. And COT has gathered together again a very gifted cast. It's led in the title role by Sandra Peaks Eddy, who was our Cherubino in 2005, and she sang Beatrice in Beatrice and Benedict 2 years ago. Noah Stewart is returning to the company after his success with The Flowering Tree earlier this year, and he'll be singing Don Jose. And we also have Rick Snyder, an ensemble member from Steppenwolf, with us in the role of Lillis Pastia. So there'll be a great excitement for opera theatre goers to see Rick with us this year. Conducted by Alexander Platt, who's a COT favourite, has conducted a number of Britain works for us in the past, as well as, of course, the famous production of Nixon in China, which we gave in 2006. And Andrew Eggert, who's been a long-time member of our staff, will be making his COT debut as a director. And we're very excited about that, because Andrew has come up through the company. He's one of the most gifted young directors emerging in the American opera world at the moment, and so I think this is going to be a significant event, and he will be returning to us, I know, in a future year. The third opera in the season is another Benjamin Britten. We've been working through the Benjamin Britten cycle, if you like, and this is, I think, the third or fourth Britten opera we will have done. Rape of Lucretia, Turn of the Screw, Midsummer Night's Dream, and Noah's Flood are behind us, and we're now taking on Wingrave, which was his penultimate opera, and in fact was written for television. It was commissioned by the BBC and was first given, I think, in 1972. Wingrave is based on a story by Henry James, and its main theme is a very topical theme, of course, which is, at the moment, which is pacifism and the conflict that a young man born in a military family feels when confronted with this big issue of war and pacifism. And so we're looking forward to finding this a particularly interesting intellectual exercise and philosophical exercise for us and for the audience. Remains to be seen how that pans out, but I'm sure that this great work by Benjamin Britten, being given here for the very first time, will inform our audience further about the remarkable position that Britain holds in the history of opera. I personally consider Britain up there with Verdi, Mozart, and Wagner as really the greatest opera composer of the last 100 years. I'm very proud that we at COT have actually managed to produce 4 of his pieces so successfully, and I hope that this will not be the last. And the cast of Wingrave will include Robin Leggett as in the role of the old general. Robin was with us as Aschenbach in Death in Venice and will be remembered very, very much for that remarkable performance in 2004. We have Matthew Worth in the title role. Matthew is one of the most gifted young baritones emerging at the moment. He played a subsidiary role in Beatrice and Benedict 2 years ago, but since then he's really come up to show himself to be one of the brightest new stars. And then we have Rebecca Kane, who was the first Cosette in Les Miserables when it was first given in London in 1984 or thereabouts. And from then on went to appear in Phantom of the Opera in the original productions with Trevor Nunn. And she's flip-flopped back and forth between opera and music theatre. I think that really, somebody said to me once, Andrew Lloyd Webber and Mozart are the 2 greatest opera composers. Well, I don't entirely agree with that point of view. However, Rebecca's done a lot with Lloyd Webber and is really one of the great stars of music theatre. So it will be great to have her in the cast, of course. It will be conducted by Stuart Bedford, who was Britain's assistant on the first production of it for television, and in fact conducted the first stage performances of it at Covent Garden the following year. So we're absolutely thrilled to have Stuart Bedford with us. And the director will be Ken Kazan, who was responsible for our spectacular production of Death in Venice in 2004, and the designer will be Peter Harrison, who also designed Death in Venice.